Hi. It's been a minute. It's currently storming outside. I'm talking 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts. I hope we don't lose power. Apparently the center of town has lost power. We have not, but in my house, if we lose power, we also lose our water. So we're hoping. Last time I did a video set up like this, by the way, I'm being lit by my galaxy lamp and a singular rose scented candle that when I smell it makes me feel like I'm 12 years old again, because I like roses. I'm obsessed with them. And I started like getting into them when I was 12. Yeah, it takes me back. I can't light it all the time because we are a family of migraine havers, so it doesn't affect me, but it affects others. So they're not in the house right now, so I can light the candle. Basically, I'm just making this video to one, check in, and to talk about a couple things that are on my mind lately. Because it is spring. In my job, we are hurtling towards the end of the season because I work, if I haven't said before, or if you're new here, I work in regional theater on the administrative side. And our theater season runs like the school year does. We start in October and we finish in the spring, early summer. So we finish in June this year. And it's a very exhausting time of year because we are still finishing up our current season while gearing up for next season because we handle all the subscriptions and the tickets and all that stuff. So we're dealing with people resubscribing for next year, canceling subscriptions, changing their seats, but we don't do that just yet. So we have to take down everybody's requests so we can change their seats in August. I get to hear everybody's opinions on what they think of the shows this year. Good takes and bad. And it's definitely a tiring time of year because I'm doing a lot of things for people. I am accommodating a lot of requests. And there's not a lot of us because we are a nonprofit. And if you're in the theater space, this may be a side of things you don't know. If you're a theater kid, if you're an actor or want to be an actor, I know a lot of people who watch my channel are people who want to be performers or in the performing space. My audience could have changed, I don't know. But I was a theater channel when this really started happening. But I hadn't really worked in the behind the scenes of theater. I'd really just acted and that was it. And now I have seen for at least 2 years almost, we're getting there, in July it'll be 2 years, what it takes to keep a theater afloat, especially in our post-pandemic world. I have learned that there are two sales models for a theater. There is your for-profit and your non-profit. We are a non-profit. Broadway theaters are for-profit, so they have different requirements than we do to stay alive. Whereas Broadway theaters get to make money as well as pay their people and keep the lights on and do other shows. Those theaters, the spaces, the actual buildings, are venues. The shows are not stagnant. They come and they go. The building remains, and the building and the people in it stay and get to stay. I work in nonprofit theater, in regional theater, meaning all the money that we make goes back into making art, because we make it and build it all in-house. We are not a venue. We make it's all part of our system. So when you donate to a regional theater, it pays my salary, it pays my boss's salary, it pays all the set people's salaries, it pays the actors' salaries, and it controls how many people we can cast at a time based on how much money we are bringing in. And the seasons and the shows we choose vary based on how we're doing financially. And that's super stressful, especially when what you can do art-wise is at the beck and call of a very small amount of people who can afford to go to the theater or know that it exists. So we've been struggling with the art versus commerce battle for a little while, and watching it happen from the outside is rough. We know that we'd rather be doing certain types of work. We're just not in the position to be able to do it. I'd like to make a longer video about this, more well-researched and more well thought out in the future, but for now I will leave you with, if you live in the United States, most likely your state has a regional theater. I suggest looking it up because a lot of stuff that goes to Broadway starts in regional theater. So if you are a theater kid, I highly suggest looking into your local regional theater. You may get to see some stuff on the ground floor before it pops off, okay? Also, just support your local arts, and if you're worried about price points, regional theaters do a lot to try and reach the community and the surrounding communities and make it affordable for people. So if you call and ask what their programs are, they will certainly help you, because we have plenty at mine. I'll try and find a list of regional theaters and put it in the description box so you can find a list, so you can see where there might be one in your state. Second thing, the internet. Big, scary. I had to do this thing that I've been doing on and off lately, which is there are periods of time where I have to completely get rid of Instagram on my phone. I have gotten rid of TikTok for quite a few months at this point, because no matter what I do or how I curate, the algorithms for Reels or TikTok, or even in YouTube Shorts, which is another rabbit hole I have to figure out how to get out of, the algorithm shows me some of the scariest stuff I've ever seen in my life. And it's very easy to make it feel like the world is bad and scary and awful, and there's no point in going outside. Or there's just a lot of pressure and a lot of thoughts coming at me from every angle, every type of person. And because I'm a curious person, I even get stuff that I don't agree with because it thinks that's what I like. Just because I end up looking at some nuanced take that ends up taking me in the opposite direction of where I want to be going. So that gets scary, and then I end up in scrolling rabbit holes and don't get anything done. I can't read books anymore. Not anymore, but I get to the point where my brain gets so loud, I can't focus. I can't focus on anything. I can't read. The most I've been able to do right now is read comic books, which is better than nothing. I've been catching up on the new Captain Marvel run. Or I listen to audiobooks, because then my eyes don't have to look at something, because I just get tired. Like, my brain is tired. It's taking in a lot. So we have to do this thing where I will delete Instagram, and then I have to sort of remind myself of things that are good for me. I technically have two journals. I have one that's big and brown and leather and fancy. It's the one I took to the Supernatural convention. It's signed by the cast of Supernatural on the inside. It's very fancy and nice. And because it's fancy and nice, there's a little bit of pressure to make it look cool on the inside. And sometimes I just need to write without thinking about it, and that thing is also very hard to transfer. So I have this moleskin that I've had since 2017. A lot of my songwriting is in this from my EP back then. I started this in, oh my god, it's got my old address in it. I started this in April of 2017, so almost to the date. And it wasn't full yet. So I've just been using this as like journal / commonplace book / like I'm taking notes on things or writing stuff down or stuff I find interesting, or if I need to vent. It's just an easier way to do this. And I've got a new one waiting for me when I finish this one, because I am going through it quite fast. But I had to do a thing this evening because I was in a scroll hole, and I finally just deleted Instagram because I was like, I am just seeing horrifying things that I can't make it stop. And I had to write down a list that I've done a couple of times and it's called Things That Regrow My Soul. I came up with that term because a few years ago there was a show on Adult Swim called Joe Pera Talks With You, and the second episode of the first season is Joe Pera takes you on a fall drive, and his theory is that when you carve a jack-o'-lantern on Halloween, because this fall drive takes place November 1st, you lose a bit of your soul when you carve a jack-o'-lantern. So to regrow your soul back, he takes the jack-o'-lantern for a drive and then dumps it over this scenic waterfall that's in his area. And it's just, he goes out, he admires the scenery and takes in nature, and it regrows that piece of his soul that he lost. I don't personally think my soul dies when I carve a jack-o'-lantern, but the sentiment stuck. So basically what I would consider something that regrows my soul is something that makes me feel connected with the world around me. It gives like a warm, fuzzy feeling and a safe, everything's gonna be okay, or a sense of wonder. So that's usually what I would consider something that regrows my soul. And this is my list. And I've written this list a couple of times and I don't think they're the same, but I just make myself think of things that make me feel nice and good. Number 1, we have Vlogbrothers videos. I watched a Vlogbrothers video for the first time in a little while this evening, and it was the one where John Green talks about his team winning a game for the first time this season, and you thought no one was gonna score, and then they score at the last minute. And I don't watch football/soccer, but I cried when it happened. And Hank and John Green, they just really do help you see the good in the world. So whenever I do watch a video of theirs, I feel better because they're not sugarcoating anything, but they're also not always talking about bad things. Or if they do talk about bad things, they talk about it in a way that is less scary. Number 2 is singing with no goal. And by this, I mean singing because I like singing. Practicing singing, recording stuff just to record stuff, practicing because I like the act of singing. Right now I'm working with a band. I'm learning how to play with a band. So lately singing has been wrapped up in a goal. So there's certain songs where like if I'm working on them, I'm genuinely working on them and trying to make them good for my bandmates when we perform next month. So it's just nice to do something that's not connected with any kind of finished, polished product, and just getting to do it because I like it. Going along with this, number 3 is playing guitar without a goal, because another thing I'm trying to learn to do is play guitar and sing and perform at the same time and give a good performance, because I'm not focusing so hard on playing guitar that the singing suffers. It's just nice to sit and play songs that I know and songs that I like to play. Number 4, getting lost in a book. This has not happened in a while. I have not had a book where I have been so sucked in, like the world disappears. I haven't had that in a while. I've read good books, but they've been work to get through. Like, even if they're enjoyable, I haven't felt this sense of ease that I used to get from reading as a kid. Number 5, 6, I don't know. When the lights go down at a theater. And that can be a movie theater or like a theater, but mostly a theater, because there's magic in that. And I would say also when like an overture starts playing, but musicals don't really have overtures anymore. So I haven't really felt that in a while, because a lot of stuff just doesn't have an overture anymore. And then we go into, it's mostly nature stuff. So it's watching the trees, watching the clouds, watching the sky, watching the birds. We have bird feeders around the house, which I think I need to refill, but it is disgusting outside right now, so it'll probably be gross outside tomorrow, so I can't fill them just yet. But there's lots of birds, there's lots of nature. We live around a lot of woods, so there's just squirrels everywhere and birds and woodpeckers and bunnies and stuff. But that stuff, being able to sit and not do anything and watch a squirrel or a chipmunk or a bird do something. People have been doing it for thousands of years. The smell of a rose candle, like I said, makes me feel like I'm 12. Morning quiet. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up around like 7:30, sometimes 7. And like that's truly, I feel like the last hour before anybody feels it's appropriate to get up and start doing things. So getting to wake up and look at the trees, look at the sky, look at the clouds with no sound is so rare nowadays. It's just great. Nighttime quiet as well. I can't use today as a example because it's raining and you can probably hear the wind and the rain hitting against the window right now. And it would be soothing if I wasn't worried about the power going out. Then I had long talks with my sibling. My sibling and I will get into these really long discussions that will go from like subject to subject to subject, and it'll go on for like 3 hours. We had one last night and we didn't stop until 11:30, and we finally said I have to go to bed because I have work in the morning. But I love those because it makes me feel less insane, and getting to voice thoughts and bounce ideas off of people is something that regrows my soul. I wrote when I noticed the leaves at my old house. I'm so mad because I've been back to this house since we moved away, and they cut down this tree. There used to be a tree right outside my window, and it was this beautiful old oak tree, and I'm so pissed they cut it down. But the way the wind would go through the tree, it would almost look like it was breathing, and I loved that. So I still kind of see that. There's no leaves right now because it's early spring, but it's still something nice. Next one is reading a line in a book that sounds like it came from my own head. I got into annotating in the past couple of years. I used to not be an annotating person. I'll still only do it in pencil. I cannot do it in pen, but like finding stuff that I want to underline and like almost like capture almost and like put in my brain physically. There's nothing like it. I wrote, when I first get in a bath. I don't want to say a bath entirely because usually by the end of a bath, it's kind of gross. Like it's just like the water is gross and it's usually lukewarm and you can't get like that feeling back that you had when you first got in the bath. But when you first get in the bath, sublime. And then I wrote seeing the ocean, which I don't get to do very often, even though I do live in New England. We still live about an hour away from any good beach. So don't get to do this as often as I would like, but, and then seeing water of any kind in nature. I live fairly close to a lake that I pass like every single morning. So I do my best while I'm driving and safely. I do my best to look at the water as I'm driving to work because it just makes me feel better and it's more pleasurable to look at than highway. I actually do purposefully take a longer way to work so I can go through nature instead of just getting on the highway immediately and going through industrial areas. My ride to work is actually feels very country, through the country like, at least for the first half, and then we get to like a major highway and then things get stressful, but we do this for my health. And those are the things I could think of at the moment, but I do think it's important to remind yourself of the things other than the rectangle void that we carry around to try and do anything else. And also, like, not to say like a phone is completely bad, like I'm using this to record a video mostly because my camera is dead. It's feeling less like a tool lately. It felt like a tool for a little bit, and then I kept getting sucked into things that were blown out of proportion and made scary. Not for no reason, like valid, but like I have to remind myself that it's not the whole world. I was reading a book the other day called, it's called Tom Lake, which was probably the closest I got to getting lost in a book lately. But it takes place during pandemic, and someone said something along the lines of, you look over here and the entire world is ending, but if you look to your left outside, like the cherry blossoms are blooming and the wind is blowing and everything is fine. And it's like, it's just a good reminder that if you're looking for it, yeah, bad things are happening, but good things are also happening if you're looking for it. And I just felt like it was something important to think about, especially because when we lived through that, it felt like nothing but bad things were happening. And it was very hard to look away from the bad things and notice what was right outside your window, which was nature going on and things being as they should be. should be, are, I don't know. But something to think about, and it's something I need to remind myself of so I can maybe feel a little bit less heavy up here. I hope you're well. I will leave you with, because people seemed to like this back when I did monthly vlogs, I'll leave you with some books that I'm reading. I'm reading like 5 different things right now because I can't focus on anything. But this is a book I bought the other day. It's called Too Much: How Victorian Constraints Still Bind Women Today. It's about what it says. Interesting. Haven't gotten super far. And then I have the 10,000 Doors of January, which I picked up because it was described to me as Inkheart but for adults, and that's kind of what I was looking for at the time. And then, like I said, I'm reading Tom Lake, and there's another book I just bought called The Library Book, which is a investigative journalism book about a library in Los Angeles that was burnt down, and them investigating whether or not it was arson or intentional or not, but also wrapping in the author's love of reading and books in libraries throughout her life. So it's like personal but also investigative, and it sounds great. So go read a book, look at a tree, look at some water, go drink some water, and I'll see you guys soon.